So let's just talk about selection sort in Python. So previously we have talked about this bubble sort. So the problem with bubble sort is that here in a single pass we perform a lot of swap. So because we have multiple swaps which consumes a lot of CPU power. So we do not want that, which is really unnecessary. So to fix that problem we can use the selection sort. So in selection sort we basically perform only a single swap in a single pass. So suppose we have the numbers 3, 0, 1, 2, 4. So in simple words, in selection sort we traverse this array and we found the smallest element, and then we swap it with the first position. So that 0 will go here and 3 will go here, and then we repeat this process. Again we found the second smallest element and we swap it with the second position. So this way we repeat this process and ultimately we end up with one sorted array. So it is called selection sort because we are selecting the smallest element from the unsorted part of the array and we place it in the correct position in each iteration. So this process continues until the entire array is sorted. So let's just write down the algorithm. So first of all we have one outer loop I. So I will run from 0 to the length of our array, and inside that we use one index. So we use the min index. So the min index will point to the I is pointing here and the min index also pointing here. Initially we are just considering the first element as the minimum element, and then we have the inner loop. So inner loop j will run from I plus 1. So j will run from here till the length of the array. So it will continue to go to the end of the array. In each iteration the j will compare. So here we're gonna compare if array j is lesser than the array min index. So we're gonna compare if we found any value that is smaller than the array min index. In that case we're gonna update our min index with the index j. So we're gonna repeat this inner loop. After that we're gonna perform the swap. So here we're gonna swap array I with the array min index, and that is the algorithm of the selection sort. So let's just see how that works. So here j is pointing to I plus 1. So we're gonna compare if array j is smaller than the array min index. So indeed array j is smaller than the array min index. So that means we're gonna update the min index and it will point to j. So our min index will point right here. So j will reiterate and j will point to the next element. And again we're gonna compare. We're gonna see if array j is smaller than the array min index, which is not. Array j is bigger. So we're gonna move on. So the j will point to this element. And again we're gonna compare. So array j is not smaller than array min index. So again j will point to the next element. And again you can see array j is not smaller than the array min index. So the loop will break. So at the end of the loop the min index is pointing to this element and the I is pointing to this element. So we're gonna swap the array I with the array min index. So we're gonna basically swap these two elements. So 0 will go here and 3 will go here. And again this next iteration will start. So this time I will be pointing to this element, and here min index equal I. That means min index also will point to this element, and j is equal I plus 1. So j will point to this element, and we're gonna compare if array j is smaller than array min index. So because array j is smaller than the min index value, so min index will update and min index will point to the index j, and in the next iteration j will point to the next element. And again we're gonna compare array j with the array min index. Array j is not smaller, so j will point to the next element. And again we're gonna compare array j with the array min index. So array j is not smaller, so the loop will break and we're gonna swap array I with the array min index. So we're gonna swap array I with the array min index. So that means 1 will go here and 3 will go here. And in the next iteration I will point to this element, and also min index also going to point to this element, and j will point to the next element because j is I plus 1. So we're gonna compare if array j is smaller than the array min index. So because indeed array j is smaller than the array min index, so the min index will point to the index j. So the inner loop will go on and j will point to the next element. So now we're gonna compare this array j with the array min index. So because array j is not smaller than the min index, so the inner loop will break. And now we're gonna perform the swap. That means we're gonna swap this array I with the array min index. So we're gonna swap these two elements. So that means 2 will go here and 3 will go here. And in the next iteration, I will point to this element, min index also will point to this element, and j will point to this element. So we're gonna compare array j with the array min index. So because array j is not smaller, so the inner loop will break, and we're gonna swap the array I with the array min index. Because array I and the array min index is pointing to the same index, so there will not be any swapping. So after the end of this selection sort, you can see our array is sorted. And also we have noticed that in a single iteration we are performing only one swap. So in selection sort we are performing fewer number of swaps than the bubble sort. So the selection sort has the best case, the average case, and the worst case complexity of O(n) square. So let's now see how we can use this algorithm and we can implement this selection sort using Python. We're gonna implement the selection sort in Python. So first of all, we're gonna define one function. We're gonna call this selection sort. So this will take one unsorted array. We're gonna extract the length of our array, and we're gonna have the outer loop. So outer loop I will run in the range from 0 to the length of the array, and we're gonna use the min index, which will be pointing to the first position I, and then we're gonna use one inner loop j, so that j will run in the range from I plus 1 till the length of the array. Now here inside the inner loop we're gonna perform the comparison. So if the array j is lesser than the array min index, in that case we're gonna update our min index with the index j. So this way the inner loop will iterate, and at the end of the inner loop we're gonna have our updated minimum index. So after the end of the inner loop, so we're gonna swap the array I and the array min index. So the array I and array min index will be swapped right here. So here we are performing the swapping, and that's it. So this way we're gonna repeatedly continue to find the minimum index, and we're gonna swap the element of the minimum index. So now we're gonna create one array, the elements like 3, 0, 1, 2 and 4. Let's just call the selection sort, and we're gonna pass our array. So the selection sort will sort our array, and then we can just print our array. So let's now run this. So you can see here we have the sorted array. So hope you understand the concept. See you in the next one. Take care.